The stars looked different from the observation deck of the USS Horizon. Olivia Miller stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the unfamiliar constellations. After 20 years in space, she had finally achieved what no human had done before: first contact with an alien civilization. Not just one alien species, but thousands of them, all part of something called the Galactic Confederation. "Commander, they're requesting permission to board," said Alan Reeves, his voice steady despite the excitement in his eyes. As communications specialist, he had been the first to decode the alien transmission 3 weeks ago. Olivia nodded. "Grant permission. Let's meet our new neighbors." The airlock cycled open with a soft hiss. The first alien to step through was tall and slender, with skin that seemed to shimmer like polished crystal. Light passed through parts of its body, creating rainbow patterns on the floor. 4 arms moved with deliberate grace as it approached. "I am Zixler, Grand Archivist of the Vraxian Collective," it said in perfect English, the words forming from a small device at what appeared to be its neck. "We welcome humanity to the greater galaxy." Behind Zixler came 4 other aliens, each different from the last. One floated rather than walked, its body a mass of tentacles surrounding a central eye. Another looked almost like a giant praying mantis, while the third was short and stocky with skin like tree bark. The last was humanoid, but covered in blue. Fur with 3 pairs of eyes arranged vertically. Dr. Samantha Wright, the ship's xenobiologist, was visibly trying to contain her excitement. She stepped forward and performed the greeting they had practiced. "On behalf of Earth and all humans, we thank you for this welcome and look forward to peaceful relations." The aliens seemed pleased by this response. The meeting moved to the ship's conference room, where the human crew sat across from their visitors. The walls displayed images of Earth, its oceans, mountains, cities, and people. "We have studied your transmissions for some time," said Zixler. "Your planet is classified as a Class 9 Deathworld in our records." "Deathworld?" asked Olivia. The blue-furred alien spoke up. "It means your planet is exceptionally dangerous. High gravity, extreme weather patterns, diverse pathogens, large predators, tectonic instability. Few species evolve on such worlds, and fewer survive long enough to reach space." Dr. Wright looked fascinated. "That's just normal Earth conditions to us." "Precisely," said Zixler. "This is why Deathworlders are of particular interest. You develop unique traits to survive such environments." The meeting continued for hours. The aliens explained the Galactic Confederation, thousands of species, united for trade, knowledge sharing, and mutual protection. They had laws, culture exchanges, and scientific collaborations that spanned millions of years. 3 days later, the human delegation was invited to visit the Vraxian ship. Olivia brought Alan, Dr. Wright, and 2 security officers, Ben Harris and Jack Powell. The alien vessel dwarfed the USS Horizon, its interior vast and filled with technology beyond human understanding. Zixler led them to a massive chamber filled with what looked like glowing crystals, arranged in spiral patterns. "This is the Grand Archive of Terror," Zixler announced with obvious pride. "For 12,000 years, my people have documented every known fear response across the galaxy." "Fear response?" asked Ben, looking around at the glowing crystals. "Yes. Fear is universal," explained Zixler. "It is perhaps the most fundamental emotion shared by all sentient life. We have documented 12,487 distinct fear responses across 3,219 sentient species." The crystal nearest to them lit up, projecting a 3-dimensional image of an insect-like creature cowering from a bright light. Then it showed a fish-like being fleeing from a larger predator. "We understand fear in all its forms," Zixler continued. "It is the great unifier of all intelligent life. The things we fear may differ, but the experience of fear itself is constant. Dr. Wright stepped closer to the displays. This is fascinating. You've created a comparative xenopsychology database. Indeed. My ancestors began this work before we achieved spaceflight. Now we wish to include humanity in our archive. Zixlar gestured to what appeared to be an examination area. With your permission, we would like to measure your fear responses to various stimuli, all completely safe, I assure you. Olivia hesitated, but nodded. Dr. Wright, would you like to volunteer? Samantha stepped forward eagerly. The aliens directed her to stand on a platform while sensors hovered around her. The lights dimmed, and suddenly a loud roar filled the room. The image of a large predator, something like a bear, but with too many eyes, appeared to lunge toward. Her dot Samantha gasped and stepped back. The sensors beeped rapidly. Excellent, said Zixlar. A standard response to a predator threat. Next came a simulation of falling from a great height, then being trapped in a small dark space, and finally, the sensation of drowning. Each time, the sensors recorded Samantha's reactions. Your responses are within expected parameters for a Class 9 Deathworld species, Zixlar noted. Though I must say, your recovery time is remarkably fast. Then something unexpected happened. When the drowning simulation ended, Samantha laughed. It was a nervous laugh, the kind humans often use to release tension after a frightening experience. The aliens froze. All 5 visitors stared at her. Did you just express joy at the fear stimulus? Asked the mantis-like alien. No, I was just ... Samantha struggled to explain. It's relief. Humans sometimes laugh after being scared. It helps us release tension. The aliens exchanged looks that even the humans could tell showed confusion. You find fear amusing? Asked Zixlar slowly. Not exactly, said Olivia, stepping in. But humor and fear are sometimes connected for us. We have entertainment specifically designed to scare us and then make us laugh. The floating tentacle alien moved closer. You seek out fear, voluntarily, for entertainment? Well, yes, said Jack. Horror movies, haunted houses, roller coasters. Lots of humans enjoy being scared in controlled situations. The alien's confusion seemed to grow. Zixlar's crystalline body flickered with internal lights in patterns the humans couldn't interpret. In 12,000 years of studying fear across the galaxy, Zixlar said finally, we have never encountered a species that deliberately seeks it out for pleasure. The room fell silent. In that moment, Olivia realized they had discovered something important about humanity's place in the galaxy. They weren't just from a death world. They had a relationship with fear unlike anything these ancient civilizations had ever seen. Perhaps, she said carefully, there's more we can learn from each other than we thought. Zixlar seemed to consider this. Yes, the Vraxian archive may need ... baiting. This bears further study. As they left the chamber, Olivia noticed the aliens keeping slightly more distance from the humans than before. She caught Alan's eye, and he nodded slightly. They both understood. Humanity had just become much more interesting to the Galactic Confederation, and possibly much more concerning. 3 months passed since first contact. The USS Horizon remained in orbit around Centauri Prime, the neutral meeting ground chosen by the Galactic Confederation for continued diplomatic talks. The massive space station below them housed representatives from over 200 alien species, all curious about the newcomers from Earth. Greg Collins whistled as he walked through the ship's corridors, carrying a small data drive in his hand. As the youngest lieutenant on board, he had a reputation for breaking tension with jokes. Commander Miller had specifically requested his presence at today's cultural exchange. You're late, Alan Reeves said as Greg entered the shuttle bay. Sorry. Had to find the right videos. Greg held up the data drive with a grin. Trust me, they're going to love these. The shuttle ride to Centauri Prime was short. Greg sat between Dr. Wright and Ben Harris, who looked nervous. Relax, Greg told him. It's just a party. A diplomatic function with 200 alien species. Who all think we're dangerous Deathworlders, Ben corrected. Not exactly a party. When they arrived, the Great Hall was already filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some floated, some crawled, others moved on multiple legs or glided across. The floor. The humans tried not to stare, but it was difficult not to. Zixler approached them, crystal bodies shimmering under the bright lights. Welcome, humans. We have prepared a special area for today's cultural exchange. The Vraxian led them to a section of the hall where screens had been set up. Other aliens gathered around, their curiosity obvious even across species barriers. As discussed, we would like to learn more about human entertainment, Zixler said, particularly how you incorporate fear into your recreational activities. Commander Miller nodded to Greg, who stepped forward with his data drive. I brought some examples of things humans find fun or funny. Some might seem strange to you. The first video showed a roller coaster on Earth. Humans strapped into small cars, racing at high speeds along twisting metal tracks, screaming and laughing as they plunged down steep drops. This is a popular entertainment, Greg explained. People wait in line for hours to experience this. The aliens watched in silence. A small, furry creature that reminded Greg of a talking hamster spoke up. They are in danger of falling? No. It's completely safe, Greg assured them. Well, mostly safe. There are safety measures, restraints, and regular inspections. But the humans are screaming in fear, said a tall, thin alien with multiple eyes. Yes, but it's fun fear, said Dr. Wright. The thrill comes from feeling scared while knowing you're actually safe. The next video showed people bungee jumping from a bridge. The aliens made sounds of distress as they watched humans voluntarily throw themselves off a high place, only to bounce back up on elastic cords. This makes no survival sense, said a being that looked like a blue octopus floating in a personal water tank. Why risk injury for no gain? Greg struggled to explain. It's about the rush, the feeling you get when your body thinks you're in danger, but your mind knows you're not. The videos continued. Haunted houses where people paid to be scared. Prank shows where people jumped out to startle others. Comedy. Shows where humans laughed at near misses and embarrassing situations. Group of aliens called the Trilxians moved closer. They were connected in a hive mind, 6 identical bodies with purple skin and no visible mouths, communicating through subtle color changes on their faces. We do not understand, they said in perfect unison. You deliberately seek out fear-inducing. Activities ... for entertainment? Sure, Greg shrugged. It's fun. The adrenaline rush is awesome. The Trilxian skin pulsed with dark colors that Greg guessed meant confusion or concern. Dr. Wright stepped in. Humans developed humor, partly as a coping mechanism for our dangerous environment. We laugh at what scares us to diminish its power. One video showed a stand-up comedian making jokes about a near-death experience he had while hiking. The humans in the audience roared with laughter. The aliens remained silent. He almost died, said Zixler. Why is this amusing? Because he didn't die, explained Greg. And now he can look back and see the funny side of it. That's how humans deal with scary stuff sometimes. The final video was from a horror comedy movie. The aliens watched as humans on screen ran from a monster, screaming and occasionally making jokes even as they fled. When the videos ended, the room was quiet. The aliens stared at the humans with what Greg could only interpret as a mixture of fascination and concern. A large alien with skin like bark and flowers growing from its shoulders spoke in a deep, rumbling voice. "In our culture, we have rituals to drive fear away. We never invite it in for ... fun." Commander Miller addressed the room. Each species evolves different responses to their environment. Humans come from a dangerous world where fear was a daily reality. We learn to master our fear by sometimes embracing it, sometimes laughing at it. Zixler moved forward, light patterns flickering rapidly inside its crystalline body. "This explains much about your species. Your ability to voluntarily face fear may be why you survived on a Class 9 death world." News of the human videos spread quickly through the station. By evening, more aliens came to ask questions. Some brave ones even asked to try human fun fear activities in the ship's holographic simulation room. A small group of jellyfish-like aliens floated into the simulation of a gentle roller coaster. They emerged pulsing with bright colors, making sounds that might have been screams or laughter. It was hard to tell. "Most unusual sensation," one of them said. "Not entirely unpleasant." Later that night, as the human delegation prepared to return to their ship, Zixler approached Commander Miller. "We have been studying fear for 12,000 years, the Vraxian said quietly. "Yet you humans have shown us something new. A species that not only faces fear, but invites it, plays with it, laughs at it. Is that good or bad?" asked Olivia. Zixler's body flickered with complex patterns. "Unknown, but certainly interesting. The Confederation is reassessing its understanding of your species." As they boarded the shuttle back to the USS Horizon, Greg noticed several alien diplomats watching them with new intensity. "I think we made an impression," he said to Dr. Wright. She nodded. "Yes, but I'm not sure what kind. They're looking at used differently now." Back on the ship, Commander Miller called a meeting of the senior staff. Her face was serious as everyone took their seats. "Our relationship with the Confederation has changed," she said. "They're fascinated by us, but also ... concerned. Several species have requested private meetings tomorrow." "Did we do something wrong?" asked Ben. Olivia shook her head. "Not wrong. Just very, very human. And it seems that might be more significant than we realized." The USS Voyager arrived at Centauri Prime 1 week after the cultural exchange event. Captain Frank Martinez stood on the bridge, watching the massive space station grow larger on the view screen. His ship was newer and larger than the USS Horizon, specially equipped for extended diplomatic missions. "Docking procedures initiated, Captain," said the pilot, Susan Lee. Her fingers moved quickly across the control panel. Frank nodded. "Good. Let's hope we're ready for this." The message from Earth Command had been clear. The Galactic Confederation was deeply interested in human humor and fear responses. What had begun as a curiosity had become a formal diplomatic request. The Confederation wanted a controlled demonstration of human humor in all its forms, especially the kinds that involved fear. Lisa Johnson, the ship's entertainment officer, had spent the past week preparing. She had never expected her degree in media studies would make her central to an interstellar diplomatic mission. "Everything ready in the presentation hall?" Frank asked her as they rode the elevator down to the docking bay. Lisa checked her tablet. "Yes, sir. Videos, live demonstrations, everything the Confederation requested. Though I still don't understand why they're so interested in our comedy." "Apparently, we're unique," Frank said. "No other species finds fear funny. That makes us ... unpredictable to them." The docking went smoothly. Commander Miller and her team from the USS Horizon were waiting to greet them. She looked tired, but smiled when she saw Frank. "Captain Martinez, thank you for coming so quickly. Olivia, good to see you." They had trained together years ago. "How bad is it?" She lowered her voice. "Not bad, exactly. Just strange. The aliens are fascinated by us now, especially the Vraxians. Their Grand Archivist, Zixler, has barely slept since the cultural exchange. Do they even sleep? Frank asked. They enter a crystalline stasis. And no, Zixler hasn't done that in days. They've called a special session of their High Council to discuss humans. Frank raised his eyebrows. All because we laugh at scary things? It's more than that, Olivia explained as they walked toward the station. They've been studying fear for thousands of years. They thought they understood it completely. Then we came along and broke all their rules. The formal demonstration was scheduled for the next day. Representatives from 12 major species would attend, including the logical Mechanor, the empathic Quarians, and of course, the crystalline Vraxians. Each believed they were prepared to understand this human oddity. That night, Lisa made final adjustments to her presentation. Daniel Carter, the ship's security chief, watched from across the room. "You sure this is a good idea?" he asked. "Some of these clips are pretty intense." Lisa looked up from her tablet. "They want to understand human humor. This is human humor." "I know, but that video of people nearly falling off cliffs? They don't actually fall. That's the point. It's funny because it looks dangerous, but isn't." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not sure the aliens will see it that way." The next morning, the presentation hall was filled with alien delegates. Some floated, some crawled, others stood on multiple legs. All eyes, sensory organs, and attention were focused on the humans. Frank stepped forward to begin. "Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, thank you for your interest in human culture. Today, we will demonstrate various forms of human humor, specifically how it relates to fear and danger." Lisa took over, her voice steady despite her nervousness. "We've organized this into categories. We'll begin with physical comedy, move to startle humor, then to horror comedy, and finally to extreme sports humor." The first video showed classic slapstick comedy, people slipping on banana peels, falling into pools, or getting hit with soft objects. "This is called slapstick," Lisa explained. "No one is actually hurt, but the appearance of potential minor injury creates humor." The aliens watched in silence. The Mechanor, tall beings with gray skin and large brains, took notes on thin transparent tablets. Next came clips of people jumping out to scare others, followed by laughter from both parties. The Quarians, empathic aliens who felt others' emotions, visibly recoiled. "You enjoy causing fear in each other?" one asked, its voice high. "And musical. Only briefly, and only among friends," Lisa explained. "The fear is momentary, and the shared laughter afterward strengthens social bonds." The presentation continued with horror comedy clips, humans running from zombies while making jokes, facing monsters with sarcastic comments, finding humor in terrifying situations. "In these fictional scenarios," Lisa said, "humor helps process the fear. It's a coping mechanism." The aliens' reactions ranged from confusion to fascination. The Vraxian delegates flickered with internal lights, communicating in patterns the humans couldn't understand. The final section showed extreme sports, bloopers, skydivers with tangled parachutes who recovered safely, mountain bikers barely, avoiding crashes, surfers wiping out on massive waves. "These are real situations where humans deliberately take risks for excitement," Daniel explained, stepping in to help. "When things go wrong, but everyone is ultimately safe, we find humor in the near-miss." When the lights came back on, the alien representatives sat in stunned silence. The Quarian representative was visibly shaking. "You find potential bodily harm amusing?" Daniel replied casually, "Sometimes the best way to deal with scary stuff is to laugh at it." Zixler moved forward, crystal body pulsing with light. "In our studies of fear across thousands of species, we have never encountered this response. Fear is universally a negative experience, something to be avoided. Not for humans," Frank said. "For us, Controlled fear can be exhilarating, even enjoyable. A Mechaner delegate stood up. Its gray skin wrinkled as it spoke in a precise, measured voice. This suggests humans have fundamentally different neurological responses. You experience fear biochemically like other species, yet you process it differently at a cognitive level. I guess so, Lisa said. We never thought of it as unusual. After the presentation, the alien delegates gathered in small groups, talking quietly among themselves. The humans waited, unsure what to do next. Finally, Zixler approached Captain Martinez. We request permission to add this information to our archive of terror. Your species has a unique relationship with fear that must be documented. Of course, Frank agreed. We're happy to help with your research. As the aliens filed out, Olivia moved closer to Frank. Did you notice how they're looking at us now? Different from before. Frank nodded slowly. Yes, less like curious scientists. And more like we're the most unpredictable species they've ever met, Olivia finished. Back on the USS Voyager that evening, the human delegation gathered to discuss the day's events. I think it went well, Lisa said hopefully. Daniel wasn't so sure. They seemed disturbed by our videos, especially the Quarians. Frank checked his communication panel. Earth Command wants a full report. Apparently, 3 species have requested formal alliance talks with humans since the presentation ended. Alliance talks? Olivia looked surprised. That single quotes S. Fast. Yes, Frank agreed, very fast. Something about our presentation changed how they see us. What none of them realized yet was just how profound the change would be. As they spoke, the Galactic Confederation was already spreading news about the strange Deathworlders who laughed in the face of danger, a species unlike any they had encountered before. The news spread quickly through the Galactic Confederation. Reports about the strange human sense of humor traveled from planet to planet, growing more dramatic with each retelling. What began as scientific curiosity had transformed into something else entirely, a mixture of fascination and alarm. Commander Nicole Sanders sat in the briefing room of the USS Voyager, staring at the screen in disbelief. The latest diplomatic reports from Earth Command scrolled before her eyes. This can't be right, she said. 3 previously hostile species have requested peace treaties with Earth? Just like that? Captain Martinez nodded. And that's not all. The Gelari Dominion has offered us exclusive mining rights to their asteroid belt. The Procyon Collective wants to establish a joint military training program. What changed? Nicole asked. 2 weeks ago, most of these species barely acknowledged our existence. Dr. Paul Henderson, the ship's xenopsychologist, cleared his throat. I have a theory. It's about our humor presentation. All eyes turned to him. Paul was new to the crew, transferred from Earth's Xenological Institute just before the Voyager left for Centauri Prime. The aliens didn't just find our comedy confusing, he explained. They found it terrifying. Lisa Johnson frowned. Terrifying? But we specifically chose mild examples. Mild to us, Paul said. But think about it from their perspective. They watched videos of humans laughing at situations that would cause panic in other species. They saw us treating danger as entertainment. Daniel Carter leaned forward. So what are you saying? They think we're fearless? Worse, Paul said. They think we're completely unafraid of death. And what could be more frightening than a species that laughs in the face of mortality? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Martinez was the first to speak. They've completely misunderstood us. We're not fearless. We just process fear differently. Try telling that to the Mechner, said Nicole. According to these reports, they believe humans are, and I quote, evolutionarily superior predators with advanced psychological defenses against fear. They're calling us the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Outside the briefing room, the crew of the USS Voyager went about their duties, unaware of the growing myth surrounding humanity. On Centauri Prime, human diplomats found themselves treated with new caution and respect. Trade offers from across the galaxy flooded human diplomatic channels. The Mechanor, previously reluctant to share their advanced technology, suddenly offered manufacturing blueprints for their faster-than-light drives as gestures of respect. Days later, Commander Miller from the USS Horizon visited the Voyager. Her face was serious as she met with Captain Martinez. "It's getting out of hand, Frank," she said. "Yesterday, a Quarian diplomat asked me if humans sleep with their eyes open because we're never afraid of being attacked. The day before, a Trilxion delegation wanted to know if human children are taught to laugh at death as part of our warrior training." "Warrior training?" Frank repeated. "We need to correct these misunderstandings before they go any further." "I'm not sure that's possible now," Olivia said. "The rumors have taken on a life of their own. Did you hear what the Vraxians added to their archive of terror?" Frank shook his head. "A new category, Deathworlder humor. Approach with extreme caution. They've classified our comedy as a psychological weapon." The situation grew more complex when Admiral Roy Peters arrived from Earth. He called an emergency meeting with both ship captains and their senior staff. "Earth Command sees opportunities in these misunderstandings," he explained. "3 species that previously threatened our colonies are now offering peace. Trade agreements are being signed at an unprecedented rate. But it's all based on a mistake," protested Dr. Henderson. "They think we're something we're not." "Are we?" asked the Admiral. "Think about human history. We've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars. We've thrived on a planet that should have killed us. Maybe there's some truth to how they see us." Lisa spoke up. "Sir, with respect, they believe we laugh at danger because we don't feel fear. That's simply not true." "I know," the Admiral nodded. "But for now, Earth Command wants us to let the misunderstanding continue. At least until we've secured our position in the Confederation." Not everyone agreed with this approach. Dr. Henderson, in particular, argued that building relationships on false assumptions would eventually backfire. But for the moment, the decision was made. Humans would not actively correct the growing legend of their fearlessness. The effects of this decision became clear when the USS Voyager was invited to visit Mechanor Prime, the home world of the logical gray-skinned aliens. No non-Mechaner ship had received such an invitation in over 300 years. As they approached the planet, Captain Martinez noticed the unusual formation of Mechaner vessels around him. "They're giving us an honor guard," Nicole observed. "Or they're making sure they can target us from all angles if needed." "Both, probably," Frank replied. On the surface, the Mechanor treated the human delegation with elaborate courtesy. They were shown technologies that had been kept secret from the rest of the Confederation for centuries. The Mechanor High Council, 9 elderly aliens with enormous craniums, met with them personally. "We have studied your species with great interest," said the head counselor. "Your psychological resilience is most impressive." "Thank you," Frank replied carefully. "We're honored by your hospitality. We believe an alliance between our species would be mutually beneficial. Your unique qualities complement our own strengths." The unique qualities the Mechanor referred to became clear later that evening when the humans were invited to observe a military training exercise. The Mechanor soldiers demonstrated their precision and discipline, using weapons of astonishing power. "Our forces are the most technologically advanced in the Confederation," their guide explained. "But we lack the psychological advantage that humans possess naturally." "What advantage is that?" asked Daniel. "The ability to face death without fear," the Mechanor said, as if it were obvious. "To laugh in the face of danger. This makes you perfect warriors." Back on the ship, the human officers discussed this troubling development. They want us as military allies because they think we're fearless super soldiers, Nicole said. This has gone too far. Dr. Henderson nodded. The longer we let this misunderstanding continue, the worse it will be when the truth comes out. Captain. Martinez looked out the viewport at the beautiful blue-green planet below. We need to find a way to correct this without losing the diplomatic progress we've made. How? Asked Lisa. Every species in the Confederation now believes humans laugh at death. It's become the defining feature of our species in their eyes. What none of them realized was that the misunderstanding was about to grow even more complicated. Across the galaxy, young aliens were becoming fascinated by human culture. They were secretly watching human comedy videos, trying to understand how Deathworlders could find humor in fear, and some of them were beginning to laugh. 6 months after the humor presentation, humanity had established an unexpected position in galactic politics. Earth had signed treaties with 27 previously neutral or hostile species. Human diplomats were invited to mediate conflicts that had lasted for centuries. Trade routes through Earth's solar system became some of the busiest in the sector, all because aliens believed humans were fearless beings who laughed at death. Admiral Olivia Miller, recently promoted to head of interspecies relations, knew this. Situation couldn't continue. The misunderstanding had grown too large, too significant. Sooner or later, the truth would emerge, potentially damaging humanity's newfound relationships. She sat in her office on Centauri Prime, reviewing reports from human ships across the galaxy. Each told the same story. Aliens treated humans with a mixture of respect, caution, and fascination. Some younger aliens had even started imitating human behavior, attempting to laugh at frightening situations. We need to address this directly, she told her assistant, Dr. Kevin Howard. Once the xenobiologist for the USS Horizon, Kevin now worked alongside Olivia to improve understanding between humans and aliens. I agree, Kevin said, but we need to be careful. If we simply announce that humans actually do feel fear like everyone else, we might lose all the diplomatic progress we've made. So what do you suggest? Kevin smiled. Another cultural exchange. But this time, we show them the truth about human fear. 2 weeks later, the Great Assembly Hall on Centauri Prime was filled with representatives from across the Confederation. The mood was different from previous gatherings, less formal, more curious. Many of the younger aliens whispered excitedly, hoping to learn more secrets about the fascinating Deathworlders. Admiral Miller stepped onto the platform, looking calm and confident. Distinguished representatives of the Galactic Confederation, thank you for joining us today. 6 months ago, we presented information about human humor. Since then, there have been some misunderstandings about our species. The room grew quiet. The Vraxian delegation, led by Grand Archivist Zixler, moved closer to the platform. Today, Olivia continued, Dr. Howard will present research about human fear responses. We believe it's important for all species to understand each other accurately. Kevin took her place at the podium. Behind him, large screens displayed images of Earth, its oceans, mountains, cities, and people. Contrary to recent rumors, he began, humans experience fear just like other species. Our brain chemistry during fear responses is remarkably similar to many of yours. He showed brain scans of humans experiencing fear, highlighting the amygdala and the release of stress hormones. Then he showed comparative scans from Mechanir, Quarians, and other species. As you can see, the biological response is nearly identical. Humans are not immune to fear. In fact, our history is largely shaped by it. The screens showed images of human history, early settlements with walls to keep out predators, superstitions developed to explain natural disasters, weapons created to defend against threats. We laugh at fear not because we don't feel it, Kevin explained, but precisely because we do. Humor helps us process and overcome fear, not because we're fearless, but because our world gave us so much to be afraid of. The aliens watched in silence. Some made notes, others communicated quietly, among themselves. On Earth, a Class 9 death world, our ancestors faced dangers every day: large predators, natural disasters, disease, and harsh weather. Those who could manage their fear were more likely to survive. Those who were paralyzed by it often didn't. Kevin showed videos of human children being taught to manage fear, learning to swim, riding bicycles, overcoming stage fright. We teach our young to acknowledge fear, but not be controlled by it. Humor is one tool we use. By laughing at what scares us, we reduce its power over us. When the presentation ended, the hall remained quiet. The aliens seemed to be processing this new information, comparing it with their previous understanding of humans. Finally, a young Quarian stepped forward. Unlike the older members of its species, this one seemed less disturbed by human emotions. "If humans do feel fear like us," it asked in a musical voice, "then why can you laugh at it when we cannot?" Kevin considered the question. Perhaps because we had to. Earth tried to kill us so often that we needed additional psychological tools to survive. Humor became one of those tools. The Mechnar head counselor spoke next. "Does this mean humans are not the fearless warriors we believed you to be?" Admiral Miller stepped forward to answer. "We are not fearless, but we have learned to function despite our fears. Sometimes that can be just as valuable." The discussions continued for hours. Some species seemed disappointed to learn humans weren't the mythical fearless beings they had imagined. Others were relieved. A few were even more impressed, learning that humans faced their fears rather than lacking them entirely. Zixler approached Admiral Miller after the main presentation. The Vraxian's crystal body shimmered with complex patterns of light. "Your species continues to surprise us," Zixler said. "We thought you were unique because you did not fear. Now we learn you are unique in how you respond to fear." "Is that better or worse?" Olivia asked. "Neither. Different. Perhaps more valuable." Zixler as lights pulsed slowly. "The Archive of Terror will need significant updates." In a private meeting room later that day, Admiral Miller sat with representatives from Earth's key alien allies. The mood was tense, but not hostile. "Will this change our agreements?" she asked directly. The Mechanar representative answered first. "Our alliance was formed because we believed humans possessed unique psychological traits. We now understand those traits are different than we thought, but no less unique." One by one, the other representatives confirmed their continued interest in working with humans. The treaties would stand. The trade agreements would continue. As the meeting concluded, Admiral Miller shared a classic human joke with Zixler. For the first time, the crystalline being attempted something like a laugh, a melodic chiming sound that echoed through the chamber. Back on the USS Voyager, Captain Martinez received the news with relief. "So we didn't lose everything by telling the truth." "No," said Dr. Henderson. "In fact, I think we gained something more valuable: genuine understanding." Lisa Johnson smiled. "And apparently some of the younger aliens are still fascinated by human comedy." The Trilxian ambassador asked if I could prepare a collection of human humor suitable for their youth. Across the galaxy, the story of humans continued to spread. No longer were they seen as fearless super beings who laughed at death. Instead, they became known as the species that faced their fears and found ways to overcome them, sometimes through courage, sometimes through humor, always through persistence. The Vraxian's final entry in the archive that day read, "Perhaps the most valuable lesson from the Deathworlders is not their fearlessness, but their ability to transform fear into something else entirely. This capacity may be unique in the galaxy and worthy of further study." And somewhere on Centauri Prime, a young Quarian watched a human comedy for the first time and did something none of its species had done before. It laughed.